So we're at the Telluride Mushroom Festival. This is the 44th annual festival. We're at the MyCOreach van here at the top of North Oak. I'm sitting here with Gabriela D'Elia. She is a force in the FUNDIS world, somebody who is pushing information and knowledge out into the world, bringing it in and putting it back out there. And I just want to have Gabriela maybe introduce herself, maybe tell me a little bit, where you're from, like a little bit of how you got your path and how you're here.
Sure. Yeah, Michael, thanks so much for making this space, the community science space, for your whole team for doing this. It's essential. It's such a cool van you have, and it makes science so much more accessible for people to just walk by and like look at the cool mushrooms that are fruiting, and it's like it really breaks down the mystique in such a cool way. So thank you.
Yeah, we're excited to be doing it.
Yeah. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So I've been the director of FUNDIS for probably 3 years, and I began. I've been working with fungi for about 12 years. I've always been close to Earth and wanted to just have had deep respect for the Earth. And I didn't really know how that would turn out, and I still don't know what that will turn out like. But I went to college. I'm from Utah. I'm from the Rocky Mountains.
Awesome.
And I went to college in Seattle. And during that transition of like being a teenager and moving outward, I do think it was the mystery of psychedelics, honestly. It was the mystery of mushrooms.
Yeah, we all come to it in certain ways.
It was the taboo.
Yeah.
It was like, why does everybody have these weird, strong emotions about mushrooms?
Yeah.
I know nothing about them.
Unbelievable.
And then, so I was like starting to notice them in culture. And then when I moved to Seattle, it was like, oh my God, here they are.
Yeah.
And there are these huge amanitas that are like your scarf.
Right?
Everywhere, just huge. And right when I moved into the dorm room, it was the first week, and there was this huge patch of the Amanita muscaria variety there. And it was just like, stopped me in my tracks, like threw down my bag.
Do they still stop you in your tracks?
Of course.
Yes, exactly. That's my experience too.
Of course.
Yeah. So that's amazing.
Yeah. So I just like sat down with them for a little bit and was like, what? Who are you? And then I was able to actually focus my environmental studies degree into fungal ecology.
Yeah.
Which was kind of unique, but it didn't really mean much. My professors were like, okay, yeah, like you do that.
Even
I'm like,
then.
how do I do that? And they're like, I don't know, you tell us.
Yeah, seriously.
And I was like, okay, we'll figure this out. So I integrated fungal concepts into ecology, but it wasn't really till after I kind of...
That sounds formative.
It
Your
was.
professors telling you to, figure
You're
it
right.
out.
They did. They were. It was really a good professor, an academic advisor of mine, Shirley Tucker, who held a natural history course for me, and we could study anything in the environment.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, what about mushrooms? Mushrooms are this weird natural thing I know nothing about.
Yeah.
She was like, sure, go for it.
Yeah.
So I hung out with another patch on campus a couple years after the fact, and I had no idea what I was doing. I just sat there with them for a week, and I was like in this tucked away enclave, like in the teachers' like pavilion in the back, and all these professors were looking at me, and I was just like sitting there in the mushrooms, like underneath these big pine trees, and I was like, I guess I should find some books about mushrooms. Yep. Books are where we go to learn things. Yes. So then I went to the local bookstore, Elliott Bay, after gathering some specimens because I figured, okay, maybe I should identify these.
Yep.
Found the mycology section in a bookstore, which is incredible, and sat down with them and opened All of the Rain Promises and More, and was like, stopped me in my tracks again.
The cover alone will like catch your attention and keep you interested.
Yeah, so fell in love immediately with this newfound community and culture, because that book by David Aurora highlights not just the mushrooms and their diversity, but the people who love them in such a beautiful way. And that's one of the if not the most powerful thing about fungi.
It's sort of validating for me personally. Like, we're interested in mushrooms. It's not a common interest.
Yeah.
So when you find those same people who are not ashamed about it, and then you can be free with that community is exactly what I'm.
Yeah, it's
what
our family.
Yeah.
We empower each other.
Exactly.
We see their importance.
Yeah.
We like come here at a place like this together. And we're like, all right, onward, brother.
Yeah,
like
seriously.
keep doing this stuff. It's important.
Yes.
I ended up identifying them correctly, I have now seen, which is amazing because they were Grossaby precox. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And I actually identified them.
Right? Like, specifically.
Yeah. And I like took the spore prints and measured them and drew them and everything. And anyway, so that was a really great way of being allowing the fungi to come into the spheres, into the mainstream spheres from my mentors and teachers, which I respect. But I've also had teachers tell me that you are too focused on fungi. You have too much of a narrow vision on mycology. And I was like,
some phobia creeping in from the academic side, which is interesting to me.
Yeah. And it was just like, that's...
or maybe like, keep going.
Phobia, but it was just I don't know, it was just phobia. I think it speaks to the disinformation, the misunderstanding that fungi are actually related to everything.
Yeah.
Because now we sit down...
Not a phobia, a misunderstanding.
10 years later, and people are like, everything is related to fungi.
Yes.
And a lot of people see that.
Yes.
And so it's that so much has even changed in pop culture in the past 10 years alone.
Yes.
So anyway, I've graduated college, spent a lot of time in the Pacific Northwest with Daniel Winkler, Danny Miller, are big teachers of mine, going out into the field. I was associated with the Puget Sound Mycological Society, is where I really
that sounds dreamy.
Learned a lot of. I went out to the field with them, and that was like, oh, okay. I have no idea how many mushrooms.
That might be just added to my current bucket list. I would love to come out and do that. That would be sweet.
They're amazing. It's amazing to be with them. So I think that experience of being with somebody who studies these organisms and gets to know individual personalities and understand that, oh my goodness, there's I just went on a foray for 2 hours and I couldn't even tell you how many different species, dozens and dozens of different mushroom species that are all beautiful and different colors and odors, and some grow underground and some have little eyelashes and some have reticulation, and blew my mind, right? I mean, it just is incredible.
If anything, our Scrabble game is on lock, right?
Yeah, right?
Seriously.
Yeah. So lo and behold, I just kind of figured out I wanted to really devote more of my focus to them. I created my own business and different, I would teach a lot of what I refer to as holistic mycology, where I would teach more about not only fungal ecology, fungal biodiversity, but more fungal philosophy and ethnomycology, and not only scientific stuff, but meeting fungi and what happens to us in this process of loving fungi. I feel it's a very powerful thing.
1,000,000%.
A few years down the road, I became involved with FUNDIS, Fungal Diversity Survey.
Yeah, talk about FUNDIS. This is a really great resource and a wonderful, entity that we have.
Yeah.
So talk to us about it.
Yeah. So I started as a volunteer, which everybody did with FUNDIS. It was a nonprofit that was a nonprofit that began in 2017, and it was after a Mycological Society of America meeting in 2012, where 100 mycologists and mycophiles and amateurs or professionals, they all sat down and they were like, we have a problem. We do not know the fungi that exist in our country. What do we do about it?
Yeah.
So a few years later, things evolved into this nonprofit. It had a different name at first, but now it's called Fungal Diversity
Was it
Survey.
the Mycoflora project?
Yeah, it was the North American Mycoflora project.
I remember that. I was heavily involved in the CMS when that was around, and I had just made the connection that FUNDIS is sort of that now.
It is it. Yes, that was our old name, and now we're FUNDIS.
Cool.
Yeah, and that shift was in 2020 with the name.
Yeah.
But so Fungal Diversity Survey is North America's. Let me just rephrase that. Fungal Diversity Survey is the only nonprofit that focuses on North American fungal biodiversity and conservation. There's powerful, important peers of ours, mentors, Julie Furchi with Fungi Foundation, Spun with Toby and Merlin and all these people. And our nonprofit focuses on the biodiversity and protection of fungi in our continent here.
Right on.
So we do that in a few different ways. We're really playing catch up, right? I mean, there's dozens or hundreds of nonprofits for let's say birds.
Yeah, seriously.
In the United States alone.
Right. Well, we're 100 years behind most of the other sciences.
Right. And so it's okay, we have this understanding that a lot of us are learning about. It's becoming more of a it's become more of a mainstream thing. The shroom boom is happening. The fungal awakening is happening. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's a beautiful
We're
thing.
Tuning into the power of fungi.
Also validating.
And it's validating for people like us who have been here for 10 years. And at first people are like, you do what?
Yeah,
and now they're like, wow, fascinating.
Or even just thinking back of the earlier festivals and how maybe in a town like Telluride, maybe it wouldn't be so acceptable, and how maybe that was challenging. And now it's sort of open. It's been open. We have a lot of authors to thank for that too. Doors have been open.
Yes, tons of people working. All of it was on the backs of giants.
Yes. Exactly.
And so, we have this newfound like glimpse, this curiosity. Fungi are so magical. Wow, they're so good for our bodies. Wow, they connect forests and ecosystems, and we wouldn't have plants or animals without fungi. Wow.
Yes.
Fungi, I like to say, are the indicator kingdom.
Yeah.
They indicate the health, the resiliency, the wellness, the ability for an environment to adapt and respond to change in a profound way. They're very sensitive.
Subtle and profound.
Subtle and profound.
Yep.
And so by protecting fungi, we're protecting the resiliency of our ecosystems, the resiliency of our planet.
Yes.
And it also begins, it's not just protecting habitats, which is so important. Protecting fungi protects habitats. But I think it takes it even a step further. We begin to protect these like processes, these life cycles of degeneration, and the sacred death that we live with, the sacred connectivity.
Yes.
The sacred like cycling that fungi are responsible for.
Yeah,
and we begin to
threshold,
protect that. Exactly.
right?
We begin to become stewards of these processes and the habitats in our communities, people and natural, that we need to have it occur on our planet.
And if you were to take that just a step further, if we're understanding fungi, then we and we start to learn more about it, then we can understand real-time information about what's happening in our world and on the planet, right?
Absolutely.
That seems very exciting, and that, I love that. Keep going, you know?
Well, I will say that like we basically come to work in three main spheres. A large part of it is education, right? Coming to places like this, telling people that, did you know that there's such thing as a rare fungus? And that actually we only know 5% of fungal species on the planet? And that we have all these beautiful ways that they're so powerful, penicillium, we've discovered so many ways. We wouldn't have our modern culture without them. But, you know, how are we supposed to protect fungi?
If we don't understand it?
Exactly. For fungi to protect us, we must protect fungi.
Yes.
So education's a big one. This lends to community science.
Yes.
So to catch up, to protect fungi, we need to almost everybody who loves fungi already.
1,000,000%.
You and everybody can have a profound impact on fungal conservation.
Yes.
Like your van here is
MyCOreach.
teaching,
Yep.
MyCOreach.
Yep.
It is so much more accessible than it used to be.
Yes.
To clone fungi, to create high quality collections, to do microscopy, to get them DNA sequenced.
To capture the youth's attention and imagination when you get something under a scope or under a UV light. Even the adults get goosebumps when they see that stuff.
Right.
It's really
this
cool.
whole universe in this tiny little hole. And it's like, it's this expansive, they're doing so much to us. But so the community science component of it, we've always, community science has been a big part of mycology throughout history. So we continue this legacy by empowering community scientists to help us document the fungal diversity across the continent. We ask everybody to add their high quality mushroom observations.
iNaturalist?
On iNaturalist.
Yep. Scott was talking about that. We're going to keep plugging iNat
on our project Fungal Diversity Database.
And what's that website, right?
It's iNaturalist. It's a particular project.
Okay. So you find the project. Yeah, exactly.
The project you just joined, it's called Fungal Diversity Database. And this is a database that's high quality observations. So it's like, we're making this vetted database. We have volunteers who are like helping you learn more about observations that you're making and, you know, trying to help you learn and say, hey, this is would be a lot better if we could see the underside of this mushroom.
Exactly.
And did it have an odor? Maybe try typing that in next time. And then we have this database that becomes useful for conservationists and scientists. We have rare fungi challenges, where we're creating lists of targeted, rare or threatened fungal species. Right now, we have the Southeast, the West Coast, and the Northeast.
Oh, that sounds so fun. I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, and they're really beautiful mushrooms. I mean, man, like the West Coast Challenge began in 2020. And there's Romeria purpurissima, and it's like, hasn't been found in the past 4 years.
Oh, really?
Right? There's like some mushrooms, even through our promotional efforts, we're figuring out how rare they are.
That's
and
good
it's
to know,
helping.
Because I do have a place for that. Maybe we could talk after
this. Because there's like that is a particular mushroom we've seen that we haven't found in 4 years so far throughout the challenge running.
Amazing.
But then another mushroom has been found maybe 200 times.
Yeah, right.
And so this kind of a program has these targeted species where we're now able to really help understand how rare something actually is.
Yes.
We don't have that kind of data for fungi,
Yeah.
and we need the community scientists to help us build this data.
That's so great. It's so rich. I love it.
The third way that we work is by building a fungal conservation workforce. Like I mentioned, there's plenty of nonprofits that little kids can grow up thinking, I want to be a bird conservationist and join whatever XYZ bird nonprofit and help them understand birds.
Yeah.
It's like,
super common.
This is what we are doing for FUNDIS.
Yeah.
We want little kids to grow up and be like, I want to protect fungi.
Yes.
Fungal Diversity Survey exists to make this space happen.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so our largest, most successful, I would say, funded project at this point is coming from the state of California.
Oh, interesting.
Which is very unique. It's an innovative project, so funded by the state and the California Institute for Biodiversity. They have made this amazing opportunity to include fungi in their state inventory.
Oh, neato.
So for the first time.
For the first time. That, I mean, so it's like, I'm like, sort of like, why? Are we just doing it now? But I'm like, also like, oh, that's cool.
Amazing, finally, right?
Yeah.
So we would love for this program to be able to continue because, right, it's like, okay, there's been funding for plants for whatever, 50, 100 years.
Yeah.
And so we need these long-term studies. A lot of the funding for biodiversity work does come from governments, does come from states. And, you know, in the past, we've ran this program for the past almost 2 years. In this CA FUNDIS program, we have hired field collectors. We've hired sequence validators like Scott. We've hired people to DNA sequence. We've partnered with Cal State Fungarium. So the idea is that we're building an inventory. We're building an understanding of the fungal diversity in California, and it's the first time that a nonprofit has ever set out on this mission.
That's amazing.
Academics have helped us understand so much.
Yeah.
But like people say here, Amy Honan, I think it was some number like each academic mycologist would have to study like thousands of mushrooms at this particular rate.
Yeah.
And like each ornithologist might have to study like 1.2 birds or something like that.
We need the people for that one.
Yeah. So the CA FUNDIS project's amazing. We've already, in just the first year alone, we have found potentially over 314 new species.
Undescribed?
Undescribed species that don't have a match for DNA barcode.
And as the person who's in charge of this nonprofit that maps this stuff, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you put it? 10 being like super, super awesome. Probably a 10.
Like the fact that there's 314.
Yeah. Like
species.
that in
oh my
just
God,
how
11
long? Yeah, 100
in
million.
1 year.
Yeah, good.
And that we've discovered a new psilocybe in 1 year.
Yep.
And that we've discovered from by Tabe Wright, who found it outside, who usually comes to this festival as well. And like, I mean,
So
we're at a
great.
17% new sequence rate, which is like these species, that means are like most likely new.
Yeah.
We just have to look at each one of them and fully vet it for us to be confidently stand that, yes, this is a new species.
Yeah.
So it's amazing work. We love what we're doing, and we really need the support of our community to help us because the people who love fungi know the best.
Yeah.
And we need to share their spores.
So this gives me a good opportunity for you to plug like some places people to go to check you out, to like make a donation or to get involved. You go ahead and tell us about it. And then I have sort of like some wrapping up questions, and maybe we'll get to that in a second. So
Great, yeah. So fundis.org, FUNDIS.org. FUNDIS is short for Fungal Diversity Survey. You can find us online, social media. We have a newsletter, which is a great way to stay in touch with us. A lot of our people who would work with us are part of mushroom clubs and are pretty active mycologists. So just hang out with them, go out in the field with them. We have 40 staff at this point. We have dozens of volunteers.
That's
There's
a lot.
Thousands of community scientists who contribute to our projects. So
Cool.
it's we have different community science projects too, which I think are a great way to get more involved, like the rare fungi challenges, the FUNDIS local
That
projects.
sounds like so fun. It's like a treasure hunt, you know?
Yeah, and we have these like community teams. So that's a great way to get involved if people are interested in learning more about what we do and actually having a larger impact.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So some final wrap up questions. I would say, you've been to Telluride, the event before, yes?
This is my 4th year.
4th year, me
in
too.
A row. Really?
Oh,
Cool. We came in the first. Oh, wow.
Not in a row, but yes,
Well,
my
4 is
4th
a good
year.
number.
Yeah, I
Cool.
agree. And so over the years, like you probably had new and exciting things happen to you. Do you have anything in mind for this year? You're like, this thing just happened, or I'm looking forward to this.
Well, I'm very grateful that Allison Pulio and Kathleen Harrison both came to this this year.
Yeah.
They are both just strong inspirations for me in my path of mycology. Allison Pulio is a fungal conservationist from Australia. It's been lovely to connect with her.
Yeah.
Kathleen Harrison is an ethnomycologist who really, like, towards the beginning of my interest, when I was learning, just at the very beginning, when I was just so,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still so
We all are.
right?
Yeah.
But 10 years ago, I found Kat Harrison, and she just opened doors into a way of being with fungi that feels much more right for myself.
Aligned and
Yeah.
and like something that you could maybe do long term.
Yeah, it
Good.
wasn't, it was like, I think the pictures that are painted sometimes in our culture are a little more like, you know, Western, patriarchal, flashy,
Yeah,
popular, whatever it is. And Kat Harrison was just like herself.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's okay to be in your own body,
Yes.
and your own person,
Yes.
and still, do the
Yeah.
work, do the stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have to follow the path like that every single person ahead of us did.
Right. So she was just really inspiring. So I'm just so grateful to have like our family reunion here. That's really what
Yeah.
it is. And like, yeah, there were big things that happened. I met my freaking husband here.
No way.
He's so
Really?
funny. Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to do like a follow-up interview
John,
about
you can
that.
interview him even.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. So like, this is a family. It's
Yeah.
so lovely to see everybody every
Yeah.
year. Like, a lot of us don't see each other that often, but then we come here
Yep.
and we're like,
I mean, maybe we catch each other on the social medias and
Yeah.
stuff, but like to be in person is just a totally different
Yeah.
quality to it. I'm going to ask one last question. It's super serious, so I hope you're ready for this. We were wondering if you had a costume planned for the parade today, and you have to, if you don't have one, that's totally fine. I don't want to shame you, but do you have something
Of
up your sleeve?
course.
Okay, let's hear about it.
Oh my God.
If you don't
I
wanna
think it's
spoil
the
it, I also
weirdest-
get it.
I think it's I don't know. Usually I don't know. Whatever. I'm not going to self-criticize.
Yeah, sure. No.
It's Scutellaria scutellata.
Okay.
So it's eyelash pixie cup.
Yes, that's.
And
I'm
it's
so
a group.
excited.
It's a group project
Yeah.
because we really like that feeling of
Yeah.
like all of us.
So you're all doing it.
They don't fruit singularly.
Yeah, no,
also.
I'm so stoked to hear that it's.
And so you can do it. If anybody can go to the AHA shop with Rita and like
Oh, it's
make your
open.
own little Scutellaria.
Oh, what a sweet
And we're all
thing.
doing it differently. And mine, I've decided to put it on my face.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I would have done.
Yeah, right. That was my first.
Talk to this.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
I have like weird little like eyelashes made out of broom pieces.
Oh, beautiful.
And
That's
it like
smart.
kind of looks like a horror movie.
Yeah,
But
I love it. That's so cool. I thought about doing the cover to bring it full circle to the all the rain that promises. I don't know if I've seen it over the years, but I always wanted to be the horn player with the chanterelles.
you know,
I never
somebody
did it.
dressed up like it last year.
Oh, I assume so.
And it was a couple.
And it was
And
perfect.
the woman was the horn.
Oh,
she was
that's
like
so sweet.
golden and like.
Oh, I'll
so
have
he was,
to
like,
go to the
holding her.
archives and look at
Yeah,
those
it was
photos.
beautiful.
Cool. Well, we are so stoked to be able to be, connected with you, to be connected with Scott and Fundis. We're hopeful that we can make use of this in service of Fundis and
Yes.
service of the larger projects that are out there. So MyCOreach, fundis.org, and Gabriela D'Elia.
Yes.
And thanks so much.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Michael. I really appreciate
Yeah.
your time. Thank
God
you.
bless. Thank you.